conference. We are joined by the Tennessee baseball team, and right now we have Evan Russell joining us. Before we get to questions, just a few reminders for the media. If you do have a question, please use the raise hand function. We will get to as many as we can. And when you are called upon, please state your full name and affiliation so Evan knows who he is speaking with. Evan, why don't you give us a quick opening statement about what it means to you to be in Omaha, and then we'll get to questions.
It's been quite a while since the University of Tennessee came to Omaha. I think everyone in our dugout is really excited to be here. We want to thank everyone for, being very respectful and being very welcoming. I think our fan base is excited to be able to come out to Nebraska and, get to watch us play some baseball. I was thinking out in the outfield, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. Coach V and the staff, they've worked hard for us to be here, and I think we're going to continue to try to give, our fan base a good show, and, I think we're just ready to play some ball.
Thank you so much. We will go ahead on with questions. Our first question comes from Troy. Troy, please go ahead. Troy, can you please go ahead with your question?
Yeah, sorry. Trevor Overhand here from the Daily Times, Evan. I was just wondering, a lot has been made about the size of the ballpark in Omaha and maybe y'all's inability to hit home runs. But how beneficial do you think it's been for y'all to be able to score in a lot of different varieties, not necessarily be, reliant on that home run ball, but also being able to play some small ball and some of that stuff in that regard?
It is a big ballpark. We just got done practicing on it, so we saw the gaps were, there's some big gaps. The outfielders are going to have a lot to cover, but the bigger the ballpark, the more fans we get in the stadium. I think we can beat you in a lot of ways. I think our lineup's pretty balanced. I think we have a lot of speed, especially at the top of our lineup. I don't think anyone in our dugout's any worried about the size of the ballpark, because I think we have some pretty physical guys. So I actually think that it helps our pitching staff a little bit. I think Blake Tidwell, Chad Dallas, Will Heflin, Sean Hunley, I think they're going to have a little bit more confidence. And, our guys throw strikes. If it's going to be hard to leave the yard that day, I think that plays to our advantage.
Thank you. Let's go next to a question from Ryan. Ryan, please go ahead.
Ryan Shumpert, VolQuest.com. Evan, you mentioned a minute ago that it's been a long time since Tennessee's been here, and I know everybody's good this time of year, but you look on your side of the bracket, Virginia, Mississippi State, Texas, no strangers to Omaha. Is that something you kind of revel in, the opportunity to play against the storied programs and kind of continue to build your program's brand?
I think it's awesome. I grew up watching Texas, Virginia, Mississippi State, going to Omaha pretty consistently, so I think it's pretty awesome to see that we've kind of slid in and made a mark this season, and we're surrounded by teams that have been here consistently. So, I think we're ready to take that challenge. And, but the beauty about it is not many people on the other teams have been to Omaha themselves. There's a few on Mississippi State, and but with the COVID year, it's hard to really rely on being here. I think this is kind of a new atmosphere to a lot of people. And, I think it's going to come down to who competes more and who can relax at the plate and on the mound. So I think we're ready to go.
Thank you. We'll go next to a question from Ben. Ben, go ahead.
Ben McKee with VolQuest. Evan, baseball is such a sport where you need so many repetitions, and it's not often that you go a week without playing baseball. Just how all have you prepared with so much time in between games, and then even looking ahead to the week, just a day off in between games? Kind of, is there anything different to preparation, or has it kind of been the same for you all?
I think this week was much needed for one person named Sean Hunley. I think it kind of helps our arms take a deep breath and be ready to go for a gauntlet. I think that I don't think anybody in our dugout are going to be concerned about people having some sore arms. I think we're ready for our big dogs to throw a lot. So I think us, taking a reset and getting our bodies under us and, with the help of our strength coach, Coach Q, and our trainer Woody, I think we have some guys that can help us, get our legs back under us and, get our bodies fresh. So I think it does help. But we're about to enter, hopefully a couple days of hard grinding and a lot of high emotion. So I think we're prepared. So I think we just need to go out and play.
Thank you. And for those who have just joined us from the media, we are currently speaking with Evan Russell. If you have a question for Evan, please use the raise hand function. Let's go to Kelly next. Kelly, go ahead.
Hey, Evan, Kelly Institz with WATE TV in Knoxville. How do you balance the excitement and taking in, and appreciating you guys getting to this moment, getting to the College World Series, but also getting your mind right for game day? How do you balance that?
There are a lot of extra things that can get your mind focused on, outside things that doesn't take place on the field. So I think that's the beauty of us coming in early in the week to go ahead and get it all out of the way. I think everyone's kind of settled in and looked around and taken a deep breath like, hey, we're finally here. This is an awesome place to be. But once Sunday hits or even Saturday, I think we finally need to start getting back to playing our game and focusing on the real reason why we're here, because, we're not here just to be here. I think we kind of want to make a statement and, see how far we can go.
Let's go back to Troy with a follow-up. Troy, go ahead.
Evan, you might be the perfect guy to ask this, considering you have 2 home runs against Jack Leiter, but does it make it any easier going against a guy like Andrew Abbott, considering the pitchers you guys have faced, like Leiter, Rocker, Marceau, and all those guys?
We face the best of the best. There hasn't been a look we haven't seen on the mound. Like you said, Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, we faced some guys that it's going to be hard to be better than. But, the guy that we're facing Friday night, or potentially, he's got some good stuff. It's real. His numbers, they don't lie. They speak for themselves. So I do think it gives us confidence to know that we've played against the best, and, we've competed, and we haven't, shied away from the spotlight. So I'm ready to see it happen. I'm ready to see his matchup with whoever we throw, and I'm ready to see what our lineup can do. So.
And let's go to Ben with a follow-up. Ben, go ahead.
Evan, how cool was it to share that moment with the team and Coach Vitello when you all kind of let him know that he had won National Coach of the Year? And from your perspective, why is he so deserving of National Coach of the Year?
It's not surprising to anyone, especially in that locker room. The man has worked. I don't know if I've ever seen him not at the field. There were times early in my career where I would go to the field at 10 o'clock at night because I was bored and I wanted to improve, and he was there. He was there, making the schedule for the next day. He's recruiting. I think there's not a person in the entire country more deserving of an award. And the beauty about it is whenever he was talking about it, after he received it, the only thing he could talk about were his assistant coaches. And I think that shows the character of a man that doesn't really care about individual awards. And I think he's built a staff around him that can keep this program where it's at, and I think he's going to have a lot more success in the future, and I can't wait to see how it happens.
All right, we'll go next to a question from Ryan. Ryan, go ahead.
Sure, this isn't at the forefront of your mind at all right now, but I believe with the NCAA COVID rule, you could come back and play another season next year. Is that something you've given any thought to?
Looking before this week, I was pretty certain that it's hard to beat this year. So, I would probably want to go back and play or go ahead and play pro ball and see what I can do. But, it's hard to beat this. Omaha, Nebraska, I stepped out on the outfield and just looked around, and I don't think you can get that in pro ball unless you make it to the World Series. But, I think the feeling of being here is unmatched. It's definitely crossed my mind already to be like, man, it'd be nice to come back here, again and try it, for the second time. But, I think we're focused on right now. And, after the season, after this couple weeks are over, I think I'll be able to make a decision. But, it's going to be hard to beat Omaha, and, it's just a lot of information I'm going to have to, decide on.
We've got time for a couple more questions with Evan. Let's go next to Wes. Wes, go ahead.
Yeah, Evan, what makes y'all think that, every moment you've gotten to this year and you said, well, people have said, would this be too big for Tennessee? Are these guys ready for this moment? All season, y'all have proved that you were ready for the moment. What makes you think, you'll be able to do the same thing on this stage, this next couple weeks?
Our team's led by guys like Luke Lipsius and Chad Dallas and Will Heflin, Sean Hunley. It's hard to really get tense and, take everything serious whenever you got guys that can just go out there and play and not worry about anything. There's no one in our locker room that, makes this life or death. And I think that kind of helps us on the mental side because, it is still a game. And, I think that everyone in our dugout thinks that we're talented enough to win every game that we're in. So I don't think we need to force anything. And I think we should take that same mentality to, this coming up game and treat it like a regular game at Lindsey Nelson.
Evan, it looks like that was the last question. So thank you so much for your time today and for speaking with the media. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Go Vols.
Thank you. We will be joined shortly by head coach Tony Vitello. If you do have a question for coach, you can go ahead and raise your hand and we will get started shortly. Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, is that the song? Oh, okay, we're good. All right.
Trying to get a sponsorship here.
Yeah, Aquafina made it in earlier, so.
I got you.
We are now joined by Tennessee head baseball coach Tony Vitello. Tony, thanks so much for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it. If you could give us a brief opening statement about making it to Omaha, then we will go with questions from the media.
Yeah, obviously this is the place to be this time of year. It's like the Ibiza of college baseball. They do it upright, and it's been drawn out into an even bigger event since the new building of the new stadium. And I know our guys are excited as any team to be here. Eventually we'll all get down to business, but the pageantry and everything that comes with being here is certainly phenomenal.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go to questions now. Our first question comes from Troy. Troy, please go ahead.
Hey, Tony, Trip Overheron from the Daily Times. I know you talked yesterday about the home runs that y'all hit in terms of transferring that to Omaha, but on the flip side of that, how much do you think it benefits your pitchers that have kind of maybe seemingly the only runs they give up are home runs? How much do you think it benefits them to play in a bigger park and kind of being able to pitch in a bigger park like that?
No, I definitely think it does. It's incentive to throw strikes, and one of our guys, our guys on the mound, their brand name is to try and attack, and you get rewarded when you do throw strikes. Not only in our park, but especially here, like you said, because it has a tendency on most days to play a little bigger. So I think that incentive is there, and there's no reason for our guys to change, doing what they've done to get us here.
Our next question comes from Ben. Ben, please go ahead.
Tony, baseball, you have to have so many repetitions to get better, and it's kind of been a quirky week with a week off in between games, and I imagine the NCAA is kind of dictating when you all practice and whatnot. But how have you all kind of made sure that the guys continue to get reps so that maybe there's not any rust on Sunday?
Well, I think it started with we crammed in a lot on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday before we got on a flight. So we were able to kind of regroup, get organized, and get back into routines starting with Monday. And then since we've been here, everything is laid out, structured pretty well. I guess the difference is, when you're asked to do things, it's bam, 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 and then you end up with a chunk of free time. So it's not as spread as evenly, but otherwise, no complaints from us and probably any other team. You get enough repetitions for this time of year. If this was February, we crank up the team meetings and analysis of some things, but this time of year, it's just kind of about playing, and if anything, our players have certainly earned the right to have that freedom.
Thank you. And just a reminder for media, before you ask your question, if you could state your name and affiliation, that will help as Coach cannot see you. Let's go next to Kelly. Kelly, please go ahead.
Hey, Tony, Kellyanne Stitz with WATE TV in Knoxville. Congratulations on being named Coach of the Year by 2 different organizations. What does that honor mean to you? Thank
you. It's a lot at once. I mean, it's one more thing that I owe gratitude to our players for. The other thing I think that I mentioned to them is it means we made wise decisions in who we hired around us, because those are the guys that are putting together the nuts and bolts of the program. And, Frank Anderson, I don't mean to discredit any of the other guys, but people inside college baseball know what's going on in our program. Pitching is incredibly crucial for everybody, and that guy is the most experienced leader in our dugout, and it affects our program in a great way. So I certainly am humbled and appreciate it. I think the emphasis is on this year because you look around the coaches that are just here in Omaha, but also in our conference and across the country. Like I said, it's humbling. And I think the thing I like the most about it is it got my niece to say that she thinks I'm Uncle of the Year in a text message. So that's the one I'm going to hang my hat on for sure.
That's awesome. Let's go next to a question from Ryan. Ryan, please go ahead.
Ryan Shumpert, VolQuest. Obviously, it's going to be hard when you get to Omaha, no matter who's there. But with 3 programs that have been no stranger to making the College World Series, do you kind of revel in that opportunity to compete against the big programs across the country?
Yeah, I think that's why our kids selected to come to our place. They wanted to compete in the SEC, which is find out what you can do against the best. And then a lot of it, too, was, coming to Tennessee and trying to, revitalize the program. So those are both things that are great challenges. So I think it's in their DNA to welcome a challenge. It's certainly been difficult right out of the chute for us when you talk about playing Wright State to start the tournament. So as we sit here, ready to enter a new tournament amongst 3 other teams, I think it matters a little bit who they are and what they've got, but more than anything, it's kind of on our shoulders to be who we are and stay true to what got us here.
Our next question comes from Bill Steckis. Bill, please go ahead.
Tony, your dad is a legendary high school baseball and soccer coach, and with Father's Day coming up, we're just getting some input on, I know you're close to your dad. What does he mean to you coming up on Father's Day?
He means the same as the way every kid looks up to their father, and even more for me, because it not only involves me as a person, but also my occupation. So in a roundabout way, I'll lean on the cliche. It's too hard to put into words. But I am a believer in karma. When I grew up, I watched, legendary coaches like Augie Garrido come here multiple times. And I know he was a guy that was certainly into karma and things, work in a certain way. And it's just crazy that, we're here for the first time and it's going to land on Father's Day. So I'll cherish it when I get out of bed in the morning. Maybe it's a little extra incentive to get a win, but regardless of how things go, it'll be great to know he's in the stands, and it'll be a pleasure to hook up with not only he, but the rest of my family after the game.
Yeah.
Let's go next to Robbie. Robbie, go ahead.
Hey, Tony, Robbie Falk from the Starkville, Mississippi Daily News. I was curious your thoughts on, first of all, the Evan Russell this year and what he's meant to your team, but also how he's developed in your time there and how much better he's gotten over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's a pride point for us because, when he first stepped on campus, we had just gotten the job. You're trying to analyze what you have, what you don't have. And to be honest, we didn't think we had much there with Evan. He came with a reputation of a guy who could hit, but had a lot of those high school tendencies that hitters have there, and it's a different level. We weren't sure what position he could play, and he's kind of been a parallel to what the program's become. Just get a little bit better each day, and that's what he's done in a bunch of different facets of the game. And now he's a centerpiece of the locker room. He's a centerpiece of the lineup, and a guy who we thought did not have a position. I've got video that's comical of him trying to catch his first fall for us, then move to the infield, then move to the outfield. He's become a plus defender and has really made a difference in some of our games with his glove and his arm. So he's a guy we can point to, whether it be recruiting or for fans. He's not the most important one, and he's not the only one that fits this billing, but he is kind of the ultimate vol as it relates to the baseball program.
We have time for a few more questions. Let's go next to Wes. Wes, go ahead.
Wes Rucker with 24/7 Sports. Tony, the last question sort of was kind of what I was going to ask in some way, so I'll rephrase it a little bit. When you got this job a few years ago and you walk in and there's guys like, Russell, Lipsius, Hunley, Walsh, they're there. If someone had told you then you're going to be in Omaha in 4 years and these guys are going to kind of be linchpins of your team, would you have believed that?
I don't know. I'm trying to put myself in that scenario. I think my first, answer would have been slow down. I don't even know where I'm going to live yet. So it was a whirlwind for a couple years, and because of the pandemic, I guess here we are in year 4. But without year 3 being completed, it's a little bit of disorientation. So dating back to that, my analysis, and I'm just being honest, people may disagree, I may be wrong, but Coach Delmonico was a legend at University of Tennessee. He made it to this city several times. Once he left, things took a deep dive, and Coach Serrano and his staff were hired on to fix things, basically. And it was a problem that I think needed more than just a few years to not only dig out of a hole, but get back to neutral and then eventually get back to what is, again, considered the promised land of college baseball. And, we were handed the baton, and if anything, things certainly were back to neutral, and it helped us get a running start into things. And a lot of it's just those kids' character. When we got there, like I said, we didn't think we had a ton of talent, even though there was enough there to compete a little bit in the SEC. But the character that was left behind and has kind of made it through what our requirements are as a coaching staff has been a big difference maker for us.
How basic were those building blocks for the first year or two? I mean, I know you said before talking about painting the weight room and other things like that, but just how basic do you have to start building a foundation to get to where you're a championship program?
I think breaking it down to, when you arrive and how you arrive at the facility, when you leave and how you leave the facility, what is considered hard work, what's eyewash, what does it really take to make a difference in this league? And then, when you raise that question, literally in a team meeting, it comes down to mentality. And then we kind of knew we had a big deal here. There was some talent, but there needed to be a mentality shift. So there was a little bit of a feeling out process. As a doctor, hopefully you don't just start prescribing things. You got to take some time and kind of analyze what's going on, what you think might be an issue that could use some assistance. And so there was a lot of patience involved in hiring staff members and then getting staff members to implement what they do, not right away, just everything in your face, but slowly feel out what we had and what was needed. So it was slow, and I think it made a quick jump last year, again, because of the character of the kids, and we were fortunate to recruit some talent on top of talent we inherited.
We'll go next to a question from Ryan. Ryan, go ahead with your follow-up.
Seems like you all kind of had the same 9 guys in the lineup for most of the back half of the year, but when Christian Scott, Kyle Booker get opportunities, Logan Steencher, it seems like they take advantage. Just what have you seen from those guys to be ready when their name's called?
Well, Jackson Greer, too. I think what he did with Pav being out for a little bit was invaluable, and he's ready to go as well. And we could knock out a couple other names. But I think the way those guys have been handled by our support staff, they don't get pushed to the back of the room or the back of the cages, however you want to phrase it, they're worked with and developed the exact same way the guys who have become our concrete starting 9 are. So when their time comes, because a guy's a little banged up, or we want to make a change, or we think it's a good matchup against a pitcher, they've been ready to go. And I think we're the benefactor, as are most teams across the country, of COVID rosters. You maybe have a little bit more depth than normal, but some of those names, like Kyle Booker, any other year, he's starting for us every day in the outfield. So it's a combination of things, but we're blessed to have some depth on the mound as well as in the dugout with position guys.
Are there any further questions for Coach? I'm not seeing any raised hands. So Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today and wish you the best of luck.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And for the media that joined us, thank you again for tuning in today. You can find a copy of this recording in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at www.ncaa.veritone.com. Thank you for joining us.